Welcome, everyone. My name is Clemente Diaz. I'm the Associate Director of College Now at Baruch. Thank you for joining us today to learn all about being a CPA, a Certified Public Accountant. One quick thing before we get the presentation officially started, please have yourselves on mute throughout the presentation, just so we can be respectful to our speaker. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to include them in the chat box. Our presenter, Michael, will be responding to your questions as they come up. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Michael Durant from the New York State Society of CPAs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I know you guys got my bio already, so just a quick recap. I'm a Baruch grad. So if you want to throw in the chat real quick, or you want to unmute yourself, I just want to get an idea of what you guys think of the CPA profession, or what do you know about being a CPA, or if you know a CPA that's in your life. You could just drop it in the chat right there. But give you guys a little more in depth about myself. High school, I was part of the College Now program as well. I was also part of the National Academy Foundation and their Academy of Finance school. I got to join a very large KPMG accounting firm. It's one of the top 4 in the world, and got to be an intern at 16. That gave me the idea of, just an idea of how cool accounting can be. All right, I see someone, their mom used to work for KPMG. Okay, a couple of questions. I'm going to address these in a minute. And then from there, I decided to go to Baruch, did my undergrad in accounting. I'll explain later, but I went part-time, and it took me about 7 years to get my undergrad done. But then I went and got my master's in under 2, about 18 months, passed the CPA exam on the first try, and became licensed. In between time, like you guys, I did a lot of other things besides just went to school. I decided to join the State Society of CPAs, which brought me here. Why is that such an important thing, and why I bring that up before even starting about what the career path looks like, is because I wouldn't have a career without them. Our entire profession is protected by organizations such as the State Society of CPAs here in New York. Every state has one. The AICPA, which is a federal national organization for us that helps protect our profession, keep our license strong, and make sure people who, don't uphold our standards don't get into the profession and get to portray themselves as professionals. So that's a very important part. What else does the society do besides, protect us? Gives us opportunity to network, opportunity to present ourselves, the reason why I'm here. It educates us. So every time you guys hear about stimulus and all that happening, that's a new tax law or a new government regulation that I have to learn about. And nobody has time. Even Congress doesn't read the law. So State Society does that for us and gives us what we need to know, and then protects us if they put something in there that harms our profession or makes it difficult for us to do our jobs. So just looking through the chat here, just to learn a little bit about what you guys know about CPA. Does a CPA file taxes? Yes. Accountants. All right. Yeah, so what is a CPA? We are a certified public accountant. That's what it stands for, which means we're a professional, an accountant who took the time to get licensed. Anyone can drive a car, but you don't have the right unless you get a driver's license, right? Same thing with us. And why is it so important? The license represents the knowledge and the ethics to say that I will put possibility in my life, in the sense that the criminal prosecutions of accountants have been on the rise for accountants who do bad things. And so by being a certified public accountant, I'm telling the world, putting myself out there, it's like I'm not just your regular old accountant that maybe is working out of my bedroom, does taxes once a year. I'm a year-long, every day, keeping up with the standards, with the regulations, ethics, everything, to make sure that I'm providing the best service. Think about it this way. You wouldn't want a bad lawyer, so you wouldn't want a bad accountant. And the easiest way to tell the difference is one that's certified versus one that's not. Now, there are plenty of good non-CPA accountants, but it's a quick way to tell the difference between the two. What influenced me to become an accountant? So, my internship at KPMG, I wanted to be a mechanic. When I started out, my grandfather had a garage. I Fast and the Furious came out. I thought it was a great idea. I was going to be own a garage and be a mechanic and maybe grow my family's business into like some West Coast Customs type thing, if you guys remember that show. And when I got my internship opportunity, I realized you can make a lot more money, a lot less work, and actually understood more about my grandfather's business than I would have just working there. And that's really what gave me the idea of, well, if I can understand one business, the accountants I was working with were dealing with multinational corporations all over the globe. So I thought that would be a dream career, not have to work in a hot garage, sweating all day, to air conditioned office and be able to talk to people all over the world about doing a business deal. That really was the influence. And then as I got into it more and learned how accountants really help businesses, COVID's a perfect example, more so than, we're not just there to file taxes, we're there to really be a part of the business. Some good questions in here. Okay, so a couple of these questions I'm going to lead into what I'm going to talk about today. So I told you how I got to accounting, right? I went to school, just kind of went with the flow, got involved with the state society, got my first accounting job, my real accounting job at a small firm, 2 partners, did everything accounting and audit. What does that mean? Like, where did I see my career going when I graduated? Well, I only knew the traditional path. When I came out of school, the only thing that they taught us was you go into tax, you go into audit, you work hard, you become partner eventually. So I decided to find out what that was. Turns out it takes 15 years on average to become partner in a CPA firm. Then when you start working in a firm and you learn that it's not just about the number of years, it's not about the skill, it's also about their ability to develop business. And that's why I would say one of the strongest things I can recommend all of you do, and the thing that helped set me apart, is in Baruch, I took accounting as my major, but I took communications as my minor. And at the time, I was really frustrated with Baruch's policy of having business majors take a liberal minor. 100% recommended. Being able to communicate. I'm in Toastmasters at the State Society because communication is key. And the one thing that they say accountants don't do well is communicate, which I think is a lie. I just think we don't do it in public very well, because when you're sitting down with a client, they have to be able to understand what you're saying. And I think as accountants, we are able to explain very complex ideas in very simple ways. So a very important skill is to get that ability to communicate, comfortable speaking. You don't have to be, Beyonce in front of 100,000 people audience, but if you can handle yourself in a room of good 15 people, that's a good skill set to have. And that's the skill that you kind of need to take the traditional path of getting to be partners, being able to speak to people and develop business. That's not what we're seeing anymore. There's the traditional path, plus there's all these other opportunities. One thing is, and you guys hear a lot about it, I'm sure, is the gig economy and working for yourself, being an entrepreneur. You get your license a couple of years, and you really start to understand the business. And if you're motivated, you can really learn this job or this profession, through networking, and be able to go out on your own and not be as worried about it. Then there's other opportunities. I saw someone mention in the chat something about a CFO. Just last week, we had a friend of mine who's a CFA who works at a hedge fund, and they are all over the globe. We have CPAs that do everything but tax and audit. My friend is in IT, and his job is to build accounting information systems. He doesn't do any calculations at all. His entire job is IT related. So when you're looking at the career paths of a CPA now, it's almost endless, because you have the traditional path, You have a self-chartered path of being an entrepreneur. You can be a non-traditional CPA where maybe you're working in IT, litigation support. If anyone's ever heard of forensic accounting, that involves going after big organized crime. It can go and be involved in matrimony and divorce cases. It can be involved in business disputes. And so that person never really files a tax return or does an audit. They do something entirely different. So those are the new career paths. It's endless. You think of it, if you want to start, take my example, right? A car company. If you're a CPA that understands business and you have enough background knowledge to understand cars, there's nothing stopping you. It's a nice question in there that I want to answer a little bit later. So next, so you have the skill set is being able to communicate. The career paths are endless. All of them you need to be able to communicate to be able to achieve, what you want out of the profession. But there's other things that I think you guys should be really aware of, and that's the culture shock that's coming to the profession. Everything's multinational now. Money is not just in the US anymore. There's a lot of blending of cultures happening all over the globe. And one thing that I say that as being a young accountant, a young CPA in this profession right now is that if you understand a different culture, a different language, even being a young person and just being able to speak, to someone who's closer in your age than closer to the partner who is 60. These are the culture shocks that are really changing the game in our profession. You're seeing a lot of younger partners. You're seeing a lot more diverse partners. You're seeing that entrepreneurship break out because the new money, the money coming from younger people who have worked hard and saved up, they're looking for people who they can relate to. So as you join the profession, make sure you keep as open as possible. If you get the opportunity as you go into college to study abroad, I can tell you I had a very interesting conversation with a gentleman because I knew that in Japan, when they hand you a business card, it's with both hands and they actually bow when they hand it. And it's considered a sign of respect. And I did not know that until I met someone who knew that and passed that information on. And it was that helped me build a connection with that individual. Do I think CPA jobs will be available in the future and relevant as they are today? Yes, I do. 100%. They won't be the same though. Tax returns, accounting, that stuff is out the window. But most of what I do every day involves a phone or a Zoom. It doesn't involve a pen and paper. It doesn't involve an Excel spreadsheet. It's a conversation, understanding what the business problems are, what the plans are, and guiding that individual through the tax and accounting world. So on a day-to-day, what is it that I do? Besides talking to a client and asking them, hey, what's going on with your business? What do you want to do with your business or your personal life? Oh, you just had a grandchild, you want to put away for their college. Besides those conversations, a lot of work that I do is research and analyzing documents. It's like, oh, this business made 100,000 last year in profit. COVID happened and they only made 97,000. Well, why did they fare so well? Are they in a good market? Is it just that they're a commodity, something that people can't go without, such as like bread or water, which is always going to be, sold? And then, discussing with the client what I see coming down the line. So if the government says, hey, we're going to raise taxes. Well, if my client is going to get hit with new taxes, it's my job to call him up and say, hey, I see you're going to get hit with new taxes. Let's figure out a way to maybe defer compensation or put money away, give away to charity, whatever the client's wants and needs are and what's in the best benefit. My job is always to look at the client, what's in the best benefit of him and what is legally right. And it's guiding him and sometimes explaining to a client, you just can't do that. And having those difficult conversations. Do I think our job will still be around 10 years from now? Yes, because a computer cannot understand emotions. I work in trust and estate, so I deal with death a lot of times with families and very personal issues. And a computer cannot just say, "Oh, yeah, your uncle wants to take all the money. Oh, well, that's the law." You just can't say that. You'll never have another client again. And it's being able to understand and explain to that client, like, even though it's not right, it is the law. And, this is what it's going to happen. And sometimes you don't even have to tell the client that it is the law. They know, they just want somebody to listen to them. And you have all their information. Telling someone how much you make and where all your money is at is a very personal relationship. And you're not going to get that with a computer. And you guys tell me if you feel like you're having that same personal relationship you would have with your teachers over Zoom. I assume not. I'm in law school at night, as in, something else I'm doing with my career. And I don't feel as connected to my professors. So I don't think the CPA will ever go away as a trusted professional. And that's what we're known as in the profession, is the most trusted professional. Some challenges I've had in my career, and how has the CPA helped me in my personal life. So in my personal life, the CPA, it's given me a new opportunity. As I told you, I come from a blue collar family. Most of the men in my family are truck drivers or in construction. Most of the women in my family have been public servants. And I'm the first one to enter the private sector. I'm the first one in my family. My immediate family had an advanced degree. Now, these things are great for me personally, and they helped my brother actually think as college as a necessity, not as like, oh, I have to do that if I want to advance. It's like, oh, I went to high school, next step is college, because he's seen me progress. And that's really the CPA. It's opened my eyes, besides, being able to earn a decent income and being able to explore the world more. Also meeting different people from different walks of life. I've dealt with people who do custom fabrics for designer companies to people who manufacture car tires. Everything from a food truck vendor to a nationally recognized artist who has giant shows. Being able to have that exposure, I think that's really what the CPA gave for me. And then, let's see. Do I think there are any other minors besides communications that might help with a CPA? Anything that involves expression of yourself. So if you're looking at a minor in marketing, if you're looking at a minor in literature, I guess, if you're, whatever you use your minor for, just make sure you're passionate enough and you're able to express that against multiple platforms. So I use literature as an example, right? If you're someone who's really into literature and want to study literature, then when you're in the business and you're going out to events, you're going to be listening for things of literature to start that conversation. Like someone may say, oh, to be or not to be, and they may reference the wrong Shakespeare. And you might come and say, actually, it wasn't that, and give some weird historical fact that makes everyone goes, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And it starts a conversation, because you're not going to talk about literature all night unless you find someone who's really into it. But you just want to have enough to be able to, you want to take whatever minor you use and be able to overlap it with your accounting major. That's how I would do literature. Obviously, if you're in marketing, there are plenty of people who become CPAs and then decide to do the recruiting for accounting firms as opposed to doing the actual work of a CPA. There are plenty of people who go and work for a place like Becker and, how market to future accountants or to people who are in the accounting field who want to get their CPA license. So any minor you get, just think about how you can match it with your CPA. Like, what would be your end goal for getting that minor? Okay, someone mentioned in the chat that they saw that I'm the chair of the statewide next year. So I mentioned how being part of the state society it gave me a platform, gave me the ability to be here with you guys. Reason why I chose to get involved is because I wasn't sure what to do. Honestly, I was in undergrad. The professor said to me, if you want to be a CPA, you got to join the state society. So I did. And at the time, it wasn't free. I think we had to pay $20. Small investment. For you guys, I recommend everyone sign up. It's a free membership. While stuff is free, take advantage. And I joined and I went to a couple of meetings. Still didn't know what to do, but I wanted to network because everyone said you network to get a job. And I figured we're better to network than where all the CPAs are at. And someone approached me and said, hey, you look like you're interested. What do you want to do? And I explained to them, I'm not sure. I just want to get a job. And they said, well, best way is to network and take up a leadership position. Here is our young CPAs, which was the name before NextGen. I joined, I got involved. We threw a couple of parties, had a couple of volunteer events. I was recognized because I kept volunteering to lead these things in my spare time. And then the opportunities just kept flowing. In 2016, I was asked to be on the cover of a national magazine representing the future of the profession. Shortly after that, I was asked to vice chair our statewide committee. Shortly after that, I became the chair. And then I do things like this with you guys. And it's because the opportunities keep coming, I keep giving more and more. And I really do believe, you spend all this time, 4 years in undergrad, 2 years in your master's, 150 credits, you get your CPA license. That's 4 exams. I know it's changing, so I'm not sure if it'll still be 4. But you guys get that license and you put all this effort into becoming a CPA. This is your profession, so I want to have a voice in it. And that's why I joined the State Society, is that this is the place where I can be a leader, I can have a voice, I can state what I want my profession to look like 5-10 years from now. There's a lot of technical questions in here about setting up businesses overseas and everything. So a couple of you have asked about a CPA and a financial advisor. So for your future, you should think of the CPA as a CPA plus. CPA understands general accounting principles. That's great, but our profession is changing. You got to add more. So that's why I'm encouraging you all to take your minors very seriously. So a CPA plus would be CPA plus maybe your CFA or your PFP. And there's a bunch of letters that you can add on, but that is your specialty. So as you get in the field and you decide what you want to specialize in, you go get a specialty to say, I'm not just a CPA, I'm a CPA who specializes in X. You have CGMA, which is for more like cost accounting, for those of you who've heard of that class. And I'm going to law school and I'm going to be an attorney, my CPA plus Esquire. And the reason for that is because I work in trust and estates, and all day, every day, I'm pretty much talking to attorneys and reading legal documents. And it's better for me to understand how they think, so that way I can tell them how, things have to come from an accounting perspective. Once you all enter the profession, you'll see that accounting and law don't always equal the same thing. A lawyer's job is to keep the risk low for the client. My job is to make the client most profitable, or at least, equitable. One question, someone asked, what does tax season look like? It depends on the firm you go to. So I'll give you 3 different scenarios. When I first started out, I was at a small firm and we worked about 50 to 60 hours a week in the office. I know friends who've been at big firms who work 70 to 80 hours a week on a good day, on a good week. So what do I say to that? It depends on what you want. My friends at the big firm have different benefits. Their downtimes are a lot different than mine. The stress is different. someone who can take high peaks and low valleys. Whereas, at a smaller firm or a mid-sized firm, it's usually consistent, and more manageable. And then what does that look like? 50 to 60 hours a week. I start my day roughly around 8 o'clock. I end around 6 o'clock, go to school for 3 to 4 hours, and then I log on for 1 to 2, 3 more hours a day. Out of that 10-hour day that I'm actually working, about 7 of those hours is actually doing work for a client, filing a tax return, reviewing accounting records. The other 3 are having conversations with my coworkers, having conversations with, other representatives, professional representatives who may be involved in, assisting the client, a banker or an attorney. So 5-6 days a week, you do that for 8 to 12 weeks out of the year, in the beginning of the year, February through April. And then for those of you who decide to go into tax, sorry to tell you, there's a second tax season, and it happens usually from Labor Day to October 15th. Sorry to burst that bubble, but again, another 10 weeks of 60-hour weeks. Okay, so how do you figure out what you want to specialize in as a CPA? It hits you. It really does. You get involved in as many projects, as many different things as you can. I told you I entered a small firm, did accounting and audit and tax, and realized that I never want to do audit again. So then when I went to my next job, I said, I want to do tax. That's how I figured out I want to specialize. I did not like audit work. Not that I have friends who do audit. It's great work and it's a necessity. It helps make my job a lot easier when I do a tax return for an audited company. And for those of you that who want to know what audit is, because tax, everyone understands government taking a little bit of money you make. Audit is when a CPA comes and reviews all your records and says, to the best of my knowledge, these records are what they are. This company made this amount of money this year, that this was done correctly. And what you need an audit for is usually banks, if they loan you money. If you're on the stock market, so you can all see any company that's on the stock market, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nike, you can go online and you can see their tax return because it's public information. So that's what an auditor is for. And sometimes, a bank might say, hey, if I'm going to loan you X amount of money, or for nonprofits, if anyone is interested in nonprofit work, Bill and Melinda Gates give away lots of money. When they give a nonprofit money, they give it with a grant stipulation. And that stipulation usually says, here's $10 million. You have to use it for these 5 things. And at the end of the year, I want an accountant to go in there and CPA to go in there and say, these 5 things were done in accordance with the grant. And that's what an auditor does. It ensures that your money was to the best of knowledge. Obviously, there's fraud everywhere, and you can't catch 100% of everything. But an auditor's job is to go in there and make sure that 99% is caught. So a couple of things. What tips do I have for someone looking to pursue my career? And then what do I do to minimize errors? Take notes. Take notes. And always ask questions. Just because you think it's a stupid question, you know what? It's better to look stupid up front and have them explain it to you than for you to go and do it and then come back and say, hey, I didn't really understand what you said, but I just did what I wanted. So definitely it's a big thing to always ask questions. I have an intern now and I spend maybe an hour, 2 hours with him at a time, but you know what? When he goes and does the work, it comes back correct. And that's the best thing. It's like, take the time up front to, learn what you need to learn. And when you guys start working, you'll see that, sometimes you just got to work and I don't have the time to teach you something. And I'll say, just do what they did last year. But when you're doing that, analyze that. So take notes, write down questions, because it might not be the right time at the moment that you have that question to get it answered, and you just have to do the job. But you always want to come back and get your questions answered. take notes, and then always pursue more knowledge. You all had decided to come here after school, after some of you having college now classes or going to college now classes. That's amazing, because coming here is you taking initiative and saying, I'm charting my own path. So definitely want to keep recommending that you do that. Can you get internships without degrees or experience? Yes. And another thing I'd recommend for you all is to go onto LinkedIn. Baruch has a great, for those of you that go to Baruch has a great star career website. But for those of you that don't, and maybe you end up at a school that doesn't have as many accounting related jobs, go onto LinkedIn, put the experience level as none, put the type of job you're looking for. Bookkeeping is a great way to get started. If you can find someone that's willing to teach you, small firms are definitely more likely to take on college interns right now. But then you also have the big firms that they'll get you in and you'll learn a lot. How easy it is to become a CPA later on in life, I don't know. I don't know. I would say everyone takes their own path. At the society, we have people that become CPAs later on in life because they decide to have kids or, take a different career path. Some people decide, they start down the path of wanting to be a CPA and decide that they don't want to do it. It all depends on what time you have to commit to it. And anyone will tell you the CPA exam is a commitment. That's a year and a half, 2 years of your life that you're just going to sit down and learn. The best recommendation I have is do it right after undergrad when you know most of the stuff off the top of your head and you're still accustomed to learning. But I would definitely try to get it done as soon as possible. And even if you don't meet the right criteria right away to be licensed, at least, once you graduate undergrad, you'll be able to sit for the exam. Now is big data becoming important? So you guys heard of blockchain, right? Cryptocurrency. So it's a huge part of the auditing profession and it's becoming a big part of the tax profession. And like I mentioned to you guys before, a lot of CPAs are into IT now, and that's what they're using is blockchain and big data and analytics. A friend of mine is a CFA, certified financial analyst, and a CPA. And he takes data from all these different hedge funds. And for those of you who don't know what a hedge fund is, it's an investment company that invests in a bunch of different vehicles. So TikTok, before it got popular, a hedge fund gave it the money to run its business. You think of it that way, the thing that helps give startup money. And his job is to take a bunch of information from all these different hedge funds, put them together into one simple report, and everyone speaks a different language. So he uses big data to break all that down and sort through it and get the information he needs. How cryptocurrency in the tax world, governments don't know how to regulate it, they don't know how to control it, but the first thing they learn how to do is tax it. So already, if you're doing cryptocurrency, the government is figuring out a way to tax it. If you're using Coinbase, they report to the government. So just so you understand, and just like everything else, if you guys ever heard of a Swiss bank account, that used to be a thing. It won't be a thing much longer for those doing cryptocurrencies. On the audit side or the accounting side, again, that blockchain, that figuring out, well, if you said you spent $1 here, where's the proof? And because of the way blockchain works, it's a self-verifying data. So that it's involved in every aspect of business, even if you don't think it. Yeah, your local corner store, the chips that got onto its shelf at some point is touching big data now and blockchain. Any software that I use in my job. So if you get the opportunity, I'm not sure if Baruch offers it. QuickBooks, or when you go on to school, if you're interested in accounting, look up QuickBooks. It's the premier accounting software. There are a bunch of accounting software specialties out there, but QuickBooks is the most generally used one. If you can get yourself a little bit of knowledge in there, it'll take you a long way. What kind of ethics are involved as being a CPA for a larger firm such as Apple? The ethics doesn't change whether you're at a large firm or a small firm. Our job is to be the accountants for the public. Whether you work for Apple, whether you work for a public accounting firm, the P in your license stands for public. You are not to sign off, approve, grant anything that you don't feel is ethical and legally responsible. If as a tax accountant, I prepare a tax return based on the records a client gives me. So if a client tells me, oh, here's my W-2, I made $100,000 this year, but I had $200,000 in losses. I will not sign that tax return, even though he gave me the information, if I don't feel that information is reasonably correct. That it can be correct, but I need to make sure it's reasonable. If someone makes $20,000 a year and they roll up to my office in a Bentley, I can't put on a tax return you made $20,000 a year, because you got to tell me how you have a Bentley out front in front of Madison Avenue. So the ethics are the same. You remember Apple a couple of years ago. No, well, maybe not so much a couple of years ago, but there was a big thing with Apple and its IP being overseas, and that it was charging back and not paying a lot of US tax. There were a bunch of companies doing it. Apple was just famous for it. There was an accountant that did it, but you know what? That was legal. It was legal, and the government's to blame for that. So that accountant didn't do anything wrong. Whereas if you guys will learn about Enron, which were accountants who were filing documents saying that, oh yeah, this company had money, when they knew in the bank account there was no money. So, and that was a multinational conglomerate. And for those of you that want to look that up, you can find something really quick on it. I'll put the name in the chat. And Enron is something you would definitely look at, because it is the reason why the CPA license is what it is. It caused a huge financial crash in the early 2000s and a dot-com bubble, and led to auditors, accounting firms collapsing. There used to be the big 8. Now there's only 4. Some people argue 6. Enron was a big focal point of our history as a profession. Is a CPA and a financial advisor profession similar? Yes, they are. They are similar in the fact that both of us are looking at the best interest of a client, but a financial advisor's job is to make you money. An accountant's job is to help you manage your money more so, in the sense that I do estate planning, where a person may come in and say, I have $100,000. I want to make sure my kid has a retirement fund or a college fund, and our job is to help them through the tax laws. Can you do that? Can you pass that money on to your kids? How else can you save on taxes? But often I work in teams. I work with bankers, financial advisors, lawyers every day for the same client. We work in teams, and it's a big part of our job is to get information from one another. And the best teams that I have are the teams where I proactively communicate with them and they proactively communicate with me, and none of us are caught off guard, because the worst communicator in the group is usually the client. So, that's why I stress communication skills so much, because you use it every day. And for those of you who are thinking, writing is another, even though you may not be comfortable speaking, if you can write and you're comfortable writing, about the profession, the people who get paid the big bucks are the people that are able to write in this profession. If you go on to Forbes and you look up Tax Tuesdays, you'll see those names up there. Those are the people that get paid the big bucks. They're the celebrity accountants. Does a CPA ever need to go to another CPA? I do every day. Now, I'm a CPA who specializes in trust and estates tax. But if I have a client who has a business, I'm going to go to a business expert. If I have a client who has a nonprofit, I'm going to go to a nonprofit expert. I deal in tax. I don't do audit. So if I have a client that needs some audit expertise, I go to an auditor. Just last week, I had a contact reach out to me and say, hey, they had a client for me who needed someone who understood stock options. I don't know much about stock options, not much more than you could get from a 2-minute YouTube video. But I was able to get on the phone with a partner in my California office or across the country, and he was able to talk to that client, and we're going to bring that client into the firm. So we're always, again, everything's a team. No one knows everything, and I have partners coming to me asking me questions because they don't know trust and estates tax. So you'll all learn your own expertise and your own knowledge your own way, and before you know it, you'll be experts in the field. You don't realize it's happening until it happens. I see you guys did some quick research on Enron. Yes, very much so. I hit on all the points I had for you guys. I just we got about 15 minutes left. So if you guys have any particular questions, I saw some. Can you become a CPA later on in life if you want to switch careers? Yes. Again, that's something you can definitely do. A lot of CPAs are mixed. Our math school is the core of being a CPA. No. I have a calculator. I have Excel. Most math I do is adding and subtracting. The biggest fear everyone has is, accounting is a lot of math. Cost accounting is a lot of math. I'm a tax accountant. It's not much math going on there other than your basic operations. And again, you use the computer. I can honestly say I've used the computer to add 100 plus 150 at times just to double check myself. Math is not a huge part. It's more reading and analytics. I would take logic. If you guys have the opportunity in college to take logic and reasoning as a class, it's definitely something you want to do, because a lot of what you do as a CPA is reading government regulations. And government regulations are all written by lawyers, and lawyers do not write simple. So it's not a lot of math. It's more reading, analytics, and depending on what area of the profession you decide to go into, it could be a lot of writing. There are CPAs who only deal with IRS cases, and it's like if they worked at a law firm, because all they're doing is going back and forth to court, special court, tax court with the IRS or New York or whatever other state you're involved with. So math, you need to know the basics: adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, what a percentage is. But then the rest, you don't need to know econometrics. And if you don't know what that class is, you don't want to know. See your clients. As a CPA, do I usually see my clients in high-end vehicles? It depends on the client. So my firm, I work at a firm called Prager Metis. They are in the entertainment industry. So a lot of our clients are artists and Broadway actors. So we do actually have a lot of well-known clients. Chance the Rapper is one that's publicly on our website. Not my client. I've never met the guy, but like I said, entering this profession, you get to meet a lot of people. I met 50 Cent back when he had his energy drink out. I've met a couple of other famous people, models in different industries. The license and the profession really, and you see these people as everyday people. They don't show up in their like Bentleys and stuff like that. They're going to spend money. They're not showing up for an audience that's going to pay for them. Do I prefer working with smaller companies, individuals, or bigger companies? And the difference between all three of them, I prefer working with individuals and small companies because I like problems. One thing I find with individuals and small companies is they don't have the expertise to know how to they don't hire the expertise to know how to put their company or their life together. And when you go in and you're like, well, your company's books are a mess, let me clean it up, show you what your real profit is looking like, where you can save money, where your life is. If you want, plan for your kids, plan for your grandkids, let me help you plan all that out. And those things really help me feel good about at the end of the day. Is like, I help this person put money away for their grandkid to go to college. I help this person make sure their retirement was up to date, that they can retire comfortably. I help this business get themselves in order so they could be profitable. Those are the types of things I like doing. So working with small businesses and individuals, it pays well, and it also fulfills that warmness in my heart. And that's benefit of, again, having this license. Do you charge your clients based on their income, or is it fixed price, or depending on what they need? Every client is different. How clients are charged is way above my pay grade. But what we're finding in the profession is, before it used to be by the hour, just like attorneys. People don't want to pay by the hour, and it's hard for a small business to manage by the hour. So you're seeing a lot more fixed pricing coming in. If you Google, get rid of the billable hour, you'll see there's a bunch of articles and things on how a company can no longer have billable hours. Clients prefer to know this is going to cost me X number of dollars, and they can budget for that. So definitely is something that's changing as as the profession changes, as the clientele changes, as the world changes. We're seeing changes in the way billing is done, but it's way above my pay grade. Do we fly to find our clients? So I don't travel. As a tax accountant, there's no reason for me to travel. Everything's done electronically. And audit teams travel less, and pretty much no one's been traveling during COVID. But, drones are a thing. If you look up drone usage, if you look up computer blockchain, all these things are happening where people don't travel as much as before because travel is expensive, and companies are quick to find ways to cut expenses. So traveling is something they definitely gotten rid of. But there are people that go, a partner will definitely fly to see their client, and the right client who, is willing to pay for the travel expenses, anyone will go see. I used to work we used to have a client out in California where every year, once a year, the partner would go out to California because the CFO wanted to sit with the partner face to face. And it went into their bill, of course, it's a business expense, but it's definitely something that people do. So I know we got about 7 minutes left. So I want to give you guys a little bit of information. And so we do have some upcoming events, and I'll invite my colleague, I guess, Dawn. She works at the State Society with us, and she hosts our Moynihan Scholarship Fund. And that scholarship fund was created for you all, so that way we can help build out the profession, and we have scholarship money that you guys might be interested in. And we have a couple of events geared specifically towards high school students coming up in April. So, Dawn?
Thanks for putting me out here. I'm excited. I'm glad we're able to give this presentation. Michael, thank you for sharing all your wonderful information and informative background about the profession and what we do. My name is Dawn Troop. I work at the New York State Society of CPAs. So I'm responsible for making sure that the student pipeline is strong, and we're sharing information as well as resources with students so they're able to have choices to have access to the accounting profession. So as Michael was just sharing with you, we have 2 events coming up for high school students through our Next Gen Academy. So the first date to save is April 24th. It starts at 4 p.m. and goes to 5:30. The topic is, what is the answer? A discussion on how to do research online, which actually I will be presenting. But we will send more information out to your group as the pages get set up. So that's one event to wait for and look forward to. The other one is on April 28th, again at 4 o'clock. It ends at 5:30. It's for financial literacy and what they don't tell you. So these will be really impactful information where you're able to ask questions, and we'll ensure to get some stuff out to you in advance so you'll have questions to ask if you want to do so. But if you need anything else from us, don't hesitate to ask.
And I'm just going to drop in, for those of you who do not have a LinkedIn account, you should really get one. It's TikTok for professionals, Instagram, if you haven't heard of it. And I'm putting in my info so you guys can all connect with me. And, you know, if you have any other accounting career questions, or as you go through school and maybe decide you want to do something else, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much, Michael and Don. On your note on LinkedIn, I just put it in the chat box. It's a link to the high school profile for LinkedIn. So it's kind of a quick guide as to what high school students should include on their LinkedIn profile. So I'm sure that'd be very beneficial to all of you. This video, as well as some additional resources, will be emailed to everyone after the event tomorrow at the latest. So the information from the Next Gen workshops, information about the New York State Society of CPAs co-op program, as well as information on College Now's summer program, because we have 2 courses that may be of interest to you if you have not participated, which is either business fundamentals or personal finance. But again, I want to thank both of you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to speak to our students. And I'm sure they're all grateful. They're all saying thank you in the chat box. So thank you very much. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you all for showing up.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening.